If you're watching this video, which you clearly are, this is the first time I'm speaking through the majority of the video. Anyways, moving on to the main topic of this video, I am creating a sister series to coincide with my main series, Paper Thin Armor. This new series will be covering all of the armored units that appear on this channel. So without any further ado, our first unit will be the Ersatz Panther. With the Allies closing in on Germany, Adolf Hitler launched a last-ditch counteroffensive, the Battle of the Bulge, to split Allied lines. In the midst of the offensive, an operation was launched with the code name Greif. The conception of Operation Greif was in part thanks to the big man himself, Adolf Hitler. The operation would be led by Waffen-SS Commando Otto Skorzeny. On paper, Skorzeny was to form Panzer Brigade 150, made up of infantry disguised as American and British troops. Along with that, captured equipment would be utilized. This would allow the brigade to capture bridges along the Meuse River and cause chaos behind enemy lines. Fortunately, there were many things that went wrong with the operation, one of them being the lack of American and British equipment. In fact, due to the confusion, Soviet equipment was delivered to Skorzeny instead. The lack of equipment delivered, Skorzeny had to self-improvise with his own American equipment. One of these makeshift vehicles disguised is the Ersatz Panther, a major icon of the whole operation. The Ersatz Panther was a Panther Aus G disguised as an M10. Major changes to convert the Panther G to the M10 were additions of side plates onto the turret. Removal of the commander's cupola, which in turn made the commander blind, unless he stuck his exposed head out from the vehicle. The hull was lengthened at the rear to mimic the downward sloping on the M10's rear. The frontal upper glacis had extra steel plates covering it. The machine gun part had a steel plate covering it. A mechanism connected to a chain to the plate which would have opened the plate, allowing for the MG-34 to be used. On the lower plate, metal sheets were formed to mimic the transmission housings on Sherman tanks and their derivatives. The disguises have noticeable differences and distinguished by their own units through discrete yellow triangles painted on the rear of the tanks. The disguised tanks would have also have aligned their guns in specific directions. The disguised Panthers, as stated, had clear differences from the M10. Obviously, the signature overlapping wheels on the M10 being a hallmark for the German Big Cats. Another major difference is the muzzle brake. The standard American M10 has no muzzle brake, although the British M10 Achilles has a muzzle brake. But even then, a counterweight has been placed behind the muzzle brake on the Achilles. Due to the nature of Operation Greif's failure, many of the M10 Panthers saw action as if they were normal panzer units. The 150th Brigade, under the command of Skorzeny, attempted to take the town of Malmedy, but were repelled by American forces several times with the assistance of heavy artillery bombardment. A notable event during the sieges was when a private named Francis Curry knocked out a Panther M10 within Bazooka. The fate of another Ersatz Panther occurred near Malmedy. When an Ersatz Panther drove up the hill, it immediately came under fire. The lack of a cupola for the commander essentially made him blind, causing him to pull his head out of the tank. With this, he was struck in the head due to the incoming fire, taking him out. With heavy Allied bombardment occurring and their only eyes and ears killed, the turret was turned 180 degrees backwards, and the vehicle drove backwards into a nearby cafe. This caused the gun to break through the building's walls, whereas the tank was abandoned by its crew, seeing the hopelessness of the situation. The abandoned vehicle will remain there for a couple years after the war ended, until around 1947 or later, to which it would be scrapped. No full intact Ersatz Panther survives to this day, but incidentally, in the 1970s, a nearby town named La Gleize was restoring a Tiger II, but a portion of its gun was lost. Around the same time, the museum had a Panther muzzle brake. An unknown donor gave the muzzle brake of an unknown Panther, where it is presumably from an Ersatz Panther. The restoration team used the same muzzle brake for the partially missing Tiger II's cannon, where it is now seen today. Kind of a beautiful story. Possibly the only trace of the Ersatz Panther still survives today, as a makeshift replacement for the Tiger II's missing gun. The effectiveness of the M10 Ersatz and Operation Greif as a whole was minimal. Its effect later on caused Allied soldiers to be more cautious, as one of their own soldiers could be an enemy in disguise. Thanks for watching this video! In the next video, I plan to cover the Ersatz Panther's lesser-known relative, the Ersatz Stug.